Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it?
You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the middle after dark over here.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 54 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives, with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. If this is the first time for you turning in, that was like, this isn't Masterpiece Theater. Far from it. Opposite ends of the idiocy spectrum, if that helps. This is would you say is culture and comedy podcast the best way to categorize it in a quick genres?
Oh yeah, culture for sure.
Culture, not that we are not cultured, but we do comment on culture and comedy because we just like to have fun and laugh.
I was thinking more like a throat culture or something. That's what we are.
I don't. For the visual folks, I'm sorry if that conjures up some gross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we just said conjures. We are cultured.
Well,
yeah,
that's true. And check that off my you remember those word of the day calendars? No one still has this on their desk, right? It's all in an app. So, but yeah, like I'll check that box that I use conjured for today. So that's good. So this is episode 54.
Yeah.
And here we are. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good to see you guys. What's up?
Starting out with a yawn. Way to bring the energy. So So if you've never listened before, the guy yawning with low energy is our friend Kendall, and the other guy is my brother Corey. And again, just our fun little culture comedy podcast. And Kendall's had a fun day, so I'll let him give us any updates that he has.
Okay, sure. So, actually, so, Dylan knew because he checked his text message. Surprised Corey because I was not going to be recording today. The short of the long of it, which I just put together what that phrase means a few days ago. The short of the long of it is our 5-year-old was in the hospital last night, all night. My wife is who was with him there. I was here with the twins, and he's okay. He's fine. He's good. They got back this afternoon, and yeah, so it looked like surgery and things might be. They're talking about doing that like today or tomorrow, but they're not doing that. So they might do it later, but it's not that serious. So what we have now is just a household that is sleep deprived, except for the twins. The twins have gotten plenty of sleep. The rest of us have not.
Yeah,
but they're all upstairs sleeping right now, which is good.
If you're watching,
glad everybody's okay. Sorry, I missed the text. I just saw it.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, Corey and I aren't heartless. We aren't reacting to that news because we already knew he was okay.
Yes.
That's why we don't have big reactions and gasps and things like that. By the way, didn't you text that while he was in the hospital, he had an iPad like hooked up to everything?
He had
okay.
He had an iPad for sure.
Okay.
Which was just like mind blowing to me. Like I was, I don't know about you. Like I had a stay in the hospital once when I was a kid. It was for eye surgery. It was no big deal, but I remember it being fun because the nurse had a deck of Old Maid cards and she played Old Maid with me. Mm-hmm. And that was the highlight of the whole thing for me. The rest of the time I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And, but no, like, man, they brought him Play-Doh. They brought him coloring books. They brought him a freaking iPad. Like if you're a kid, you get an iPad to play with while you're there.
Wow.
That has all kinds of games and stuff on it. Pretty cool too. Like, and most of them are just like regular fun games that kids would like. A few of them are like, there's like a breathing game to like help you breathe and calm down and relax. So they actually use it for therapeutic purposes too, which is cool. But no, like he was like grandmaster of the remote control, like figured out the TV, figured out how to operate his bed. And he was living it up. They had to put an IV in him, and that was pretty horrific for a few minutes. But other than that, like he loved it. When he came home before he crashed and burned for a surprisingly short nap time because he did not sleep last night. He was just like, man, he was telling me about everything. He was so excited. Like it's great. And a very different experience.
Yeah.
Than what most of us probably would have had.
When I was a kid, you were lucky. Like there might have been a TV in your room that
right.
you get excited about. Like, oh, they might have a TV in there with cartoon channels.
And maybe it worked, right, Corey?
Yeah, so I shared with Kendall a story that my mom tells. I had a really bad case of mono when I was a kid, and my throat was all swollen up like a toad. And she was with me all day, every day. But at one point she had to go to the cafeteria. And when she came back, apparently I had hit the nurse call button and demanded that my TV be fixed. And so there was like a maintenance / repairman in the room when my mom got back, and she's like, "What's all this?" And the nurse like, "Well, Corey was upset that the TV wasn't working." So, and I was just a little guy. So that's a story she likes to tell. She could probably tell it better, but yeah.
Oh, little Corey was so cute.
What happened? Anything else, Kendall? I'm so glad that everybody's okay. It was a little dicey there for a second, and but yeah.
Yeah, no, things are okay.
Good.
Thank you. What about you, Dylan? Have you ever covered you, Dylan? I don't think so. What's going on with your life? Nothing. Never mind. We talked about you, but that was before we hit record.
Oh yeah. Totally different world then. So I almost sat on my kid. Like could have crushed her probably is the story. She's not quite 2.5, so she's small. And I was going to sit down to play a game, and I always look down like, where's she at? And she was kind of on the middle seat of the couch. So I'm like moving to the edge to go to sit down, and I feel just enough movement that I went, oh, like just behind me that I went, oh crap. And you know when you do what's the exercise where you do the sitting up against the wall in gym class?
Wall sit.
Yeah, it's easy if you know the words. I was almost all the way, my bottom was almost all the way down. And somehow like a mom will like in a horrible accident, like lift a car to like get a kid out or whatever. Somehow my whole body got just enough energy to almost be in a wall sit or completely sitting position to like back up. So I didn't sit on her. And in that moment, I had this like little bit of like rush of energy, and also felt really like young, like, oh, I did it. But like, I didn't crush her, but then also so old because I had pain in my entire body up through my neck on both sides from whatever maneuver I had to do to go from almost sitting on a deep, soft couch to fully standing and not crushing her. And I just, for just a minute, I was like kind of hunched over after I got back up, and literally pain like was up into my neck from however I twisted my spine and nerves, and like my legs were hurting. I'm like, this was not good. I mean, it was necessary, but like not good. So she's fine because I never sat on her, but it was dicey there for a minute. So I immediately like, my wife sees all of this, and now I'm just in pain like the crotchety old man who like got out of his chair. And my wife's like, do you want to lay down and I'll like push on your back? And normally I say no because it's not like a big deal, but I was like, absolutely. Because the amount of pain coursing through me was intense. So that was fun. That happened yesterday.
So one of our kids just got back from the hospital, and one of us almost sent our kid to the
She would have loved it though, man. I'm telling you.
She would have had an iPad.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
would have gotten her own iPad. Well, I don't know, but at about 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. So
We've had a 2-year-old in the hospital before, and he did not get an iPad.
yeah, she already, one of her favorite things to do on our iPad is not actually, well, sometimes she'll watch stuff on Disney Plus, but she likes to go into Disney Plus and go to the profile screen and create a new profile so she can see the wall of images that you could use as a profile and look at them and pick them and then keep making more profiles with different characters because she just likes seeing all the little round icons from all
Yeah.
the Disney characters. She ends up doing that more than actually using the iPad. But yeah, that was one update. And then I think I'm finally going to venture out this week for Taco Bell. I think it's time.
Do it.
It's been since it at earliest early March since I've gone, which for me is like decades ago. So
Do it.
I think it's time. I'll report next week on how it was. Maybe I'll take pictures and that'll be our Insta post.
I hope it's everything that you have longed for it to be this entire time.
But I already know it will be. So that's not a question. It will be as good as I think it's going to be because I've had it enough thousands of times that I know it's going to be delicious. And I'm
Yeah, it's that is the Taco Bell slogan: is you get what you put in.
I don't remember.
It doesn't feel.
I don't remember that ad. Anyways,
And
Speaking of
you get the rumblies.
speaking of Taco Bell, we have a voice message that someone sent in about our favorite fast food franchise.
okay. I dig it.
What's up, gentlemen? It's Jim. First time caller, long time listener. Just had a quick question for you. Oh, side note, dirty mashed potatoes are obviously the clear choice when it comes to mashed potatoes. Listening to episode 51, obviously, and I just wanted to point out something that I found hereditarily interesting. Apparently, there's something in the DNA in your family, Corey and Dylan, that makes you pronounce the name Taco Bell funny. I noticed Dylan did it every now and then, but then Kristen does the exact same thing in the episode. She pronounces Taco Bell. Like there's a little surprise at the beginning, and I just wonder, what is it that makes you both so fancy, and why didn't Corey inherit this hereditary defect? Anyway, love you boys. Talk to you later. Take it easy.
Okay, Kendall, you have to, before you put your headphones away, Kendall, you have to play how he says they say it, because it's very subtle. You have to skip to that part if you can.
Thing in the episode, she pronounces Taco Bell. Like there's a little surprise at the beginning, and I just wonder.
Taco Bell.
Yeah. The only surprise at the beginning is how delicious the first bite is. That's all there is to it. No, I've not noticed it, and now if I say it, it won't be natural because I'll be thinking about it. But Taco Bell is delicious. So.
I think there's a little bit of excitement that happens when you and Kristen use the word, and that's where it comes. Like there's just energy building into it. You can't just say Taco Bell. It's gotta be Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And you're subduing it enough so that you're not screaming into the ears of your podcast listeners.
Yeah. And if you're listening for the first time, that was episode 51, the military medicine and mashed potatoes with Captain Kristen Schaefer, MD, who is Corey and I's cousin. We had her on for all her accomplishments, but somehow managed to wind our way back to Taco Bell, of course. So, yeah, I don't know. Jimmy, maybe I did it right there. And again, when I said it,
it's very nuanced.
I'm impressed.
Which means I don't think it's a hereditary thing. I think it's an attitude thing.
Yeah. I accept it. And we can move on. So that's fine. I fully endorse that opinion. I don't know what else. Here's something that I've commented on. I don't know if you know anybody like this. Maybe it's you in your house, or maybe it's your significant other or your kids or somebody in your family. Anytime that I try to be quieter, intentionally quieter for any reason that you'd want to be quieter, that's like a normal human does, I'm actually louder. And I'm much more disruptive if I'm trying to be quiet. And so this sounds absurd, like I'm making this up for theatrics. If I just open and close cabinets and get things in a normal way, I end up being quieter. Then all of the sudden I become clumsy when I'm trying to be quiet. Like I'll open a cabinet on one side of the kitchen and somehow a pot on the other side of the kitchen and a cabinet will fall. And I don't even know how it happened. It's not all supernatural. Sometimes it's just me. But I don't know if you know anybody like that. It's absurd. And I don't think my wife believed me until like she saw it in a couple times in action and she's like, it's true. Like you're just saying.
Sometimes it's the poltergeists for sure.
I don't understand.
But I mean, it can't be every time.
Yeah. I'm sure sometimes it's just me.
I like the idea that all of your brain capacity in an effort to be quieter, like blocks everything else out and you automatically become clumsier.
Yeah.
Because you're requiring so much energy. This whole time I was laughing because I thought you were talking about your voice.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Which has been a long-standing joke in our family.
Yeah.
That your voice just carries is how our mom says it.
It's like the voice of an alto.
What a nice way to be loving towards your child when they're obnoxious. Like that's so thoughtful.
And then you were talking about like opening cabinets and things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Either way, it's funny.
I would love to hear from anybody who's like that. Please leave me a voicemail or shoot us an email or social media message or whatever.
Very carefully.
I just need to know. Misery loves company, right? So I just need to know somebody else out there is like that.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. That's what you got. Those are my updates.
Oh, good stuff.
What about you, Corey?
Yeah, we had a great weekend. Friday was just a good family night, and Saturday I spent 12 to 14 hours finishing up another school branding mascot logo branding project. Nice. So that's my fourth one, and it's a day of file, save as, file, save as, file, save as. It's like 17 different file types for each of the 9 logos that make up the logo family. But I got all that packaged up and sent out, and that feels really, really good. And then Sunday was our first weekend at church where we actually got to be together, not in the building. We did it on the lawn. But it was so good to be with everyone. Kendall led worship, and then Jerry did the message. And it was just to be with one another, worshiping together. And our church sits there. There are 2 roads that go into this little town and form like a little V. And our church sits right in the middle of that, which also happens to be on the bike path that we've mentioned before, which is why there are so many cyclists in our area. And so in a way it was cool because we were kind of like out there worshiping together out in front of everybody as all these motorcyclists and cyclists and people were walking by. So that felt cool to be a little bit of a city or a light on a hill, if you will. Then that afternoon, this is so like middle America that I'm putting these back to back. One of my buddies bought a new rifle, and so we went in, but it wasn't sighted in. He has a really nice, like $350 solar powered optic on it that he wanted to get it sighted in and zoned in. And so we did that in the afternoon, shot a bunch of rifles in the woods, smoked cigars, talked, and then after that was done, had our first scheduled couple over in like 3 months.
Nice.
We've had impromptu visits from friends where we just all were on the back patio, physically distanced as much as possible. But this was like our first couple over for like 7 or 8 hours. Dinner, hanging out, conversation, campfire that night. And so it was just a really good, relaxing, fun. If you're a social butterfly like me, it was good to have a few of those moments and be around people, or starting to be around people again in a responsible way.
Yeah. That sounds like a beautiful day. And we we had a very similar weekend. Obviously, with the church thing, I was there for that. And it was cool with the like being outside with the cyclists and everybody. I think that there was an appreciation just for the fact, even if people like weren't part of the church or whatever they think about what we believe, but I think there was a realization or an appreciation from the community just that something was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because earlier in the morning, Betsy, the gal who was leading worship with me, and we were sound checking and running through songs and stuff, and just the two of us out on the lawn with the sound system going, and like we had people like stopping and waving and cyclists like going by like giving us kind hand signals and things.
Well, that's good.
Yes, yeah. They were using the kind ones. They were using all of their fingers, which I appreciate. And but no, like you're right. It felt really different and refreshing, and like right and all of those things. I'm excited to move forward with that. We have more tech projects going up because we're going to change some of the ways that we're going to be doing things once we are actually in the building and back to normal. Some things that are a little bit more tech forward and online friendly. But
it was just like perfect weather, like unseasonably perfect June weather. It was just kind of cool, but the sun was out. And Sherry said, like, I know it's hard to plan, but Sherry goes like, even when we're allowed to be back in the building, like we should just do that from time to time, just be out on the lawn together. And to the point about just, being a witness to the community around us, or at least, I mean, there's a lot of people even in that little town that don't realize like a church group meets in there actively,
yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, we usually in years past, we've tried, to worship outside like once per summer or so. Last time we did it was probably 2-3 years ago. And I think the last couple of years it's gotten rained out.
Yeah. One morning we did baptisms and it was so freaking muggy. Like,
yeah.
It was like sticky hot and just, ugh. It's like, well, I've already been baptized, but I'm about ready to hop back in. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Just a great weekend. And, sorry, Ken, I didn't want to cut you off if you had
No, you're good. We also went out to eat at a restaurant.
How was that?
That was, oh my goodness. So there's this little creekside place in the town that we live in that's this kind of quaint little nature walky kind of area along a creek. There's restaurants and shops on there. And we ate outside at a patio. There wasn't a person within 20 feet of us. It was perfect. And we just sat there with our family. It was the same, that was Saturday before the Sunday where the weather was just absolutely perfect. It was a cool mid-June day. I mean, there weren't a whole lot of people out, which is the point, which was perfect. And like we walked around the area a little bit. Like it felt so freeing.
Yeah,
it just felt good. Like you had mentioned last week. At one point, I kind of did it tongue in cheek, but also kind of because I wanted to. I literally, like in front of a fountain with nobody around me, did I spread my arms out and spun around in a circle, like, because it felt right.
It just felt right. Yeah.
Can you
Which
imagine?
Which place did you go at Creekside?
Boar and Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine this being an update like 5 months ago? We walked outside and sat outside at a restaurant. It was so nice. But here we are, and we're all going, yes. That
right?
So nice.
The fresh air, wasn't it amazing? Other humans.
But seriously, I think we all know that area very well, and it's a really, really great area to hang out, get outside, especially when it's not busy. Like I've been to weddings when there's weddings down there, or when it's really busy with restaurants and people, whatever. But when you can get there and it's quiet and you can walk around and there's a nice breeze, yeah, that's great for you guys. I'm glad you got a chance to do that.
what Dylan means is a lot of Pokemon spawn there, and
Well, yeah, but well before Pokemon Go, it was a popular spot.
it was a good water biome though. Anyway, if you wanted water type Pokemon, you guys still there?
Person's face mid-word. It
So
just
good.
looks funny. Oh, is he back now?
Are you
Whoa.
back?
Oh, he's
You guys
back now.
both froze. Did I froze for you?
Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna have to see what happened on the recording for that one.
That's funny because I was normal, but you guys had both frozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it just
So on the recording, then it's probably going to be that. It's probably going to be us two frozen.
yeah,
I was making fun of your face and how it froze because you're all like,
I was making fun of your faces.
It's like you didn't have any more updates, or you really had to think about the next one. I wasn't sure. But no noise. Anyways, did anyone have more updates?
No, that's it.
That's all the updates? We
That's all
covered
the
them all?
updates. Yeah.
That's good.
Before we get into any other topics, though, we have one more voice message. We talked about Downton Abbey. Was that last episode?
Yeah, that was 53.
yeah, that was like the past couple episodes.
And one of our other cousins, Jenna, who has listened to every episode, I think. Thanks, Jenna and Spencer, for listening.
Yeah.
Has a voice message for us.
Big fans, Spencer and Jenna.
Okay, guys, Downton Abbey. I know it's already been established that a lot of people love it, and I am certainly one of those people. My family watched it when it first came out. My sister Haley and I would stay up, and we'd start it at a normal time in the evening, and we'd watch one more and one more and one more until it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. So yeah, we loved it. I always told my husband that I wanted to watch it together when we were dating, and once we got married, we started watching it and have seen it the whole show twice. And when we were in London last year, we got to go to Highclere Castle, which is the Downton Abbey castle, and see it in person, and it is just as grand and magnificent, and it's just blew us away to get to stand there and see it and tour the house. It was so cool.
Yeah, they have a great photo in front of Highclere Castle. And Jenna, if you're okay with it, you should send that to us so we can share it to our From the Middle for the Middlers page. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that you went, because I think you've been to various parts of Western Europe a couple times, Ireland a few times, the UK a couple times, getting in and out of Ireland, I'm sure. And I'm always super jealous because the photos are incredible. So very, very cool. Yeah, and I would love to visit that now, having seen the show. There's a lot of things I'd like to visit there, but that would certainly be one of them. So yeah, great. Glad I brought up Downton Abbey.
Can I add too that I've never heard of? Well, obviously I've heard of it, but only in passing. I've never like seeked it out or anything. Downton Abbey, and so when I had heard previously the Taco Bell voicemail from Jim, and I was like, yeah, they do kind of pronounce that a little bit funny. And then last week, listening to you saying Downton Abbey, my whole life has always been geared toward that it's not Downton, it's Downtown Abbey. And then when I heard you talking last week, I was like, oh, it's another Taco Bell thing, Downton Abbey. He's trying to be fancy with how he's pronouncing it, trying to sneak the town past you. And then when I'm like working on trying to do a title for last week's episode, and
That's funny.
and I look it up just to make sure, like I'm like, oh wow, I just learned something. So it's for about a week now for me, it's been Downton Abbey. Before that, it was Downtown Abbey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Pride cometh, Kendall.
Indeed.
Pride cometh.
Pride cometh.
Before we move to the second half of the episode, and we're talking about past episodes, just a few things. I finally watched the Leonardo Torres reaction videos.
We have two.
Not just for the one that made his channel famous, Oceans by Hillsong United, but a few others. And wow, you're right, Kendall. The guy's super charismatic and just really like a sweet guy that, like you said, you would love hanging out with him. He gets so passionate about the music and the movements in the music. And yeah, I really enjoyed him. It was good. Thank you for sharing.
Good people.
Yeah.
He's a fun musician too. Like he's got other videos out there of him, like, you know, playing a song for his mom and stuff.
Yeah. As
Those
well
are
as
also cool.
it's one that I had shared because it popped up in my excuse me, my alerts on YouTube. But Adam Savage going through both bins of his Lego collection to sort them and to make some organizers. I was smiling ear to ear and laughing during that episode. It was so fun watching him go through his childhood Lego bricks and sort them with his mom in his shop, and how he was going to sort them. And he actually consulted with some like Lego masters that happen to also work at Pixar about like what's the best way to sort through my entire collection. And it ended up taking them like a whole week to get through it, but it was so much fun watching it. We posted that on our YouTube page too, so you should check that out. And we're about to lose our 40-minute thing. I'm reading his book right now, Every Tool's a Hammer, that he's referenced a couple times on his channel, so super excited about that. Anyway, so yes, Adam Savage is my spirit animal.
And yes, Kendall, you got us watching the Leonardo Torres videos too.
Ooh.
He's very good. He's very
That's
entertaining.
how it's pronounced, Corey.
Well, trying to be authentic. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, great videos. We've been flipping through several, and he's obviously very complimentary. I mean, I think the worst thing he said is like he started to say something about a song was a little repetitive, and he started to say something like it repeats a bit, but it, you know, and that was like it. Like that was the most harsh he could get about it. But I also, you know, I think he realizes I'm a YouTube guy, and these are songs that are wildly popular. You know, he doesn't need to go in and like be hypercritical. Like they pass the sniff test when major studios release them to be sold. And so he can just go in and kind of have fun and give you his thoughts. And so they've been very enjoyable. So thanks for sharing that.
He's been a nice part of my world in recent weeks.
Good. Very good.
What else is on our radar these days?
Looking at notes of things. Speaking of videos we shared, I sent a couple videos to you earlier, one of which was the new PS5 videos, which were a little behind. I think that happened this past weekend. But the new PlayStation 5 announcement, I didn't get to see. There was an Unreal Engine video running, I think, on PlayStation type hardware. I didn't get to watch that. So we might have to share that out from the middle page. But so what did you think from the very first thing, since we have very little information now other than specs, which you don't really know what specs are going to do to you pop a game in, the design of it?
Well, first of all, so for some more context, was this a Sony specific event? I thought all this was coming out of E3, the big video game convention conference thing, but that got canceled. So this was this just like a Sony super big release event to show videos and pictures? And because The Verge, and we'll share this article, The Verge link that you sent is a 22-minute video that talks about the console itself, and then it goes through a bunch of games. So it like promos and shows some gameplay trailers of a bunch of games. So is that what it was? I mean, that was the gist?
Yeah, it was a Sony event from everything that I know.
So it must have been hours long, because they said it's a 22-minute supercut. And I'm like, if that's the supercut, that was a lot of content they must have shared. Anyway, I can't not see somebody did a meme that was Wall-E and Eve from the movie Wall-E, because the new PlayStation kind of looks like Eve, and the new Xbox kind of looks like Wall-E. So, and the controllers look like Stormtrooper armor to me.
Yeah, somebody commented there was that, and then I saw that very shortly after Samsung put out a picture of this new ultra wide curved gaming monitor that's like all white and very spacey. And somebody commented, "Science chic is really catching on."
Yeah.
Or Science Lab chic is really catching on, which I thought was amusing. But yeah, it certainly is interesting. What's more impressive, or maybe a drawback if you don't like Sony, do a Google search for the side-by-side image of the PS4, PS5, and then the two most recent Xbox, the upcoming and then the most recent. All three of them, or three of the four, look very similar in size, and then the PS5 is big. When they did the dimensions, it's huge. So,
The one with the drive on it. I mean, I've never stood my consoles up vertically, even if they're designed to be that way. I always end up sort of laying them down because it makes the most sense for whatever. So when they're showing them vertically, the one with the drive looks kind of weird because it's not symmetrical.
Right.
But the digital one looks, I mean, it doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're seeing this for the first time, PlayStation or Sony launched two PlayStations. One that's the digital only, or will launch, the digital only, and then one that has the small slit for a disc drive for games, and also a 4K Blu-ray player or ultra high definition Blu-ray player. So they're giving you the option. We have no idea on pricing yet, but I actually love that idea. I thought instead of forcing people to go all digital or forcing people to pay for maybe a feature that they don't use, that was one of the things on top of the hardware, which again, it's hard to know how impressive it is till you actually play a game. And you're seeing actual gameplay footage, but just from a like prepared for consumer type decision, I love that they gave you the option. I would for sure buy the one with the drive to also make it double as a 4K Blu-ray player for when the time comes. That was one of those first things that I saw that they did that I'm like, that makes total sense. I probably wouldn't have been smart enough to think of it, but they did, and I loved it.
The big thing that jumped out for me from that article was that it's backward compatible with most PS4 games. They said an overwhelming majority of PS4 games will be playable on it, which is really cool. I mean, just for me, it's exciting. It's cool. I've never been one that buys the console right away. PS4, I didn't get until well after it had come out. And the way I kind of think about that is like, yeah, I'll wait till a couple of the bugs get worked out. They do that like second run when they fix some of those things. But yeah, it looks cool. Game-wise, Spider-Man Miles Morales looked really good. I thought the graphics and the landscapes and we say this every time a new console comes out. They look amazing, but most of those games I would have zero interest in playing.
The thing with those is like, those are like, they show you the super awesome graphics. And then when you get into the game, it's like, that's just the video that plays in between levels.
Yeah, those are the cutscenes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then but then while you're playing, it looks like any other video game. So I also have not been in the video game world in a very long time, so who knows what I'm talking about. But that was my experience with Halo 2 when it came out.
Well, it's funny you said that about buying early, because I almost always buy, like, I'm the launch night console guy, or within the month of it launching, if it's a console I'm going to get anyways. I think this will be the first time that I'm not, because sometimes if you wait a little bit, they'll do really great bundles, like the console is branded with Star Wars and you get a Star Wars controller and a game if you buy it all at once. I think I'm going to be that guy because I'm such a casual player at this point. I can wait and see, will all my PS4 games work on the PS5? If so, great. I'll just trade in the PS4, get a PS5 eventually, and get a cool bundle with a game or two that's like a limited edition version. Because I always buy too early to get those consoles. I never get to own the limited edition one. And so I think I'm going to be that person this time, but we'll see what games are available.
I just felt like I was watching it like, oh, it's clearer now. I'm not their target demo anymore, like like for the first time I'm going, oh, it's not about me. A lot of these games I would not play. I mean, they look beautiful. And the only ones that did looked interesting because they're like what I would call gimmicky video games, where you're more interested in this idea of trying something that's kind of out there or bizarre. Let me give you a specific example that happened when I was in college. This Japanese game called Katamari Damacy came out. And remember, I'm in art school with a bunch of artists and, creatives. And the whole point of this game was that you started with a really small ball that was made out of household objects. And your little character just kept pushing the ball like a dung beetle. But it kept being able to attach to it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger things, like a snowball based on, right? So you started off and it's like paper clips and mothballs and the lids of bottles and things. And then you get to like chickens and trash cans. And then it's like buildings and telephone poles. And then you're doing like entire skyscrapers and whales. And that was the whole point. You just pushed a ball around, and it was funny to see all the things attached to the ball with like the little legs, like. And there was a whole other game called Mr. Mosquito, I think, where you were a mosquito and you flew around. Like gimmicky games like that are interesting to me, and you try it and go, oh, okay, yeah, that was cool. There's one right now called Goat Simulator, where you're a goat and you just cause as much trouble as possible. In this neighborhood. It's called, yeah. And so the ones that looked interesting to me were, it's called Stray. I assume based on the trailer that there are no humans anymore and it's all robots, except for what appears to be just one regular cat. And I think you are the cat in a world of robots. And the graphics look amazing. You should watch this. We'll share the video of the trailer. And then the other one that looked really good from that link that you sent was called The Devil Inside. The artwork and the character design and the graphics look phenomenal, but I have no idea what the premise of the game is. At first I thought that this little devil inside, the main character, was inside like how the human body works. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely misunderstanding it, but it looks interesting. So yeah. Did you have any thoughts on any of the games?
Well, it's funny that you mention the graphics and the premise of the game, because Nintendo consistently proves that graphics really don't matter a ton because we're all playing Animal Crossing still.
Yeah.
And they're really good at making cutesy, basic worlds with fuzzy distances so you don't have to articulate everything in the background. And then if you had to explain Animal Crossing to us before when we had never played it, it's like digital chores. Imagine having to like do a bunch of work and there's a bunch of chores, but you're going to enjoy it. I promise.
It's one of my favorite things is to hear people explain Animal Crossing.
And you're a human and there's animals on your island that they dress up too. They're your neighbors, but there's also animals that you catch like fish and bugs. And it's mostly chores though. And you have to be organized and you have to do chores. And some of these people are going to be annoying, but you're going to try to keep them from moving away, even though they're annoying. And you'll just do more chores then, and it'll be fun, but you'll have fun. And and that's the game in essence. But so I find that kind of stuff amusing, that like PlayStation and Xbox are so committed to these like really, really, and it's not wrong, they're trying to do really, really detailed, intense, lifelike games that are completely immersive, and you've got these curved PC gaming monitors and VR headsets that you're supposed to be in, and then like, you know, you've got Nintendo with a cutesy rabbit with black hole eyes named Coco. It's like, you know, I bought you this cat meme shirt, you know, and like, it's just totally different. I mean, the trailers all look great. I also said there was a trailer for like Star Wars Squadron is a new game from EA where it's all space, like space flying battles. There's
that looks fun.
That in VR, I'm sure will be awesome. Like, I'm kind of at that point where I'm such a casual gamer. Like, I can wait. I'm sure I can wait and hear what the best games are after 6 months or 9 months or whatever, and then maybe decide to pick. But I never played the Spider-Man game for PS4, which was almost everyone loved. It's just interesting. I'm sure there's going to be games that I love that I'll try eventually, but yeah,
I have a question for someone who's I feel like maybe I can be the voice, the questioner of the people, because I'm not in this world. It mentioned that the controller has a motion sensor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that new? My interpretation of that is that, like, so I mean, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when, like, you're playing Mario Kart on Super Nintendo back in the day and you're trying to turn a tight corner and you're just like torquing your whole body trying to get around this corner, and now, like, that torquing motion of twisting the controller to go in a direction. Now imagine your controller has a motion sensor, and that actually matters that you're doing that. Is that what that is?
That's what that is. I mean, that's the Wii. The Wii, did that, and
yeah, I suppose.
I think a lot of the games have had, whether the game has the ability to do it and whether or not they incorporated it into the game is really the question. Because I think, don't some of them have that now, Dylan? Like, even on the PS4, like the trackpad, not just the trackpad, but because there's like gyroscopes in there.
Yeah,
you can.
I'm sure they could do it. The Wii U had a breathalyzer test on it, so you blow into this tiny little thing on the controller to do certain functions in certain games that took advantage of that. I don't know, because we're not like a gaming podcast. There's way better people that could speak towards some of these features and things you could do with it. But I'm sure Corey's right. It's like if the production company chooses to take advantage of that, then I'm sure it's got that functionality.
I think they've had that before. I think the PS4, I mean, there's probably a gamer listening to this that's like screaming at his car speakers. But yeah, I think that they have some of that capability now, but not every game uses it.
Okay. All right. Well, that shows you how much I know. So me, who has no idea and forgot that the Wii even existed.
Hey,
yes, that is what that means.
Hey, we definitely had the Midler opinion on that, though, because we're all like, yeah, I don't know, probably.
My gaming has drastically declined as just life happens, and 3 young kids and activities, and it's I don't play as much as I'd like, but I am playing Animal Crossing. Sometimes during conference calls. By the way, that community, so the Dad is a great Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
They share a lot of good content for, middle chapters of your lives, dads. Then they had a sub page that was the Dad Gaming, for those dads that like gaming. There's a Dad Gaming Animal Crossing community. And those people are going hard in the paint for Animal Crossing. I mean, like making actual dollar transactions for in-game things. And one guy Dylan, did you see one guy created a whole board game where other people came to his island and they were the characters on the board game?
Wow.
Because in the game, you can get a little spinner, like Price is Right kind of spinner. And so he created little shapes and color-coded little squares on his island where they were all live streaming it and watching, and gave away real prizes and in-game currency to play this. He turned his whole island into a board game, and people are trading stuff. Dylan, you even posted today, like, anybody got the TV? I want the TV in the game. And it's just the whole community and subculture of people taking this real serious.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a very friendly group, which is great. And anytime the more granular you get with inside a group, the more an outsider is kind of blown away by the dedication. I'll put it that way.
Saying it.
And I'm just really impressed how much time and effort some of these folks have put into this game, and God bless them if they can do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what if when we die, heaven is only what you were able to build in Animal Crossing.
I
I'm in
mean,
good shape.
they'd be
Yeah.
set. If I was given in heaven my island, it would be like a giant island that's like a huge park.
Yeah, and you
Just
got to keep it clean and organized.
flowers everywhere, well laid out, beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful.
Kendall, I feel like there was a question inside of your like baked into your question, maybe.
Was there?
Like maybe there's other things to worry about on this planet than
Well, I was honestly just being tongue in cheek, but hey, I'm not gonna hate on I'm not gonna hate on people throwing their lives away.
Yeah.
That's fine with me. Like, good for them. Good for them. It's not like I'm ever gonna see them anyway.
I don't know why I'm not. I don't play it all the time. It's fine. I don't care.
No,
Well,
that's
anyway.
fine.
But Kendall, did you like the Star Wars Squadron trailer?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. That legit looks fun. I've always liked I used to like the flying games. Excuse me. Firefox was a favorite of mine. Was it Firefox? Oh no, what was the name of it? Holy cow! Again, this was a long time ago. Fox. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I do. Star Fox.
Star Fox. Oh my
Firefox
gosh.
was the browser.
Yeah, Firefox is the browser.
You sold me on it. You were so sure. I'm
It's
like,
been-
Firefox must have been great.
It's been
Star Fox.
25 years
Star Fox.
and Star Fox was a thing. On the original PlayStation, I believe, is what I played that on. But yeah, no, that looked fun. It looks like a dogfight, Star Wars world, New Republic era flying ace game.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's when you let your friends buy and you just go play it at their house a few times.
Maybe.
And-
I think that'd be one that I would actually see myself spending a lot of time on, I think.
Some
That one in
people think,
particular.
and I'm pretty convinced, if anybody has watched Star Wars Rebels, the animated series, there's a scene where they're talking in like a command room, and it looks like Hera Syndulla, the Twi'lek race with like the two green things coming. They're pretty sure that's the character from Rebels, Hera Syndulla, because she would have been a general at that point in universe, and so she might be a character too in the game, which would be fun for anybody that likes that deep cut.
I was just thinking like Sherry, Michelle, a few other people that I know listen, they just rolled their eyes back in their head and were like, all right, what are the office ladies talking about this week?
No, I think that went without saying, Dylan. We all caught that.
Yeah, everyone. I'm sure. Sorry I even mentioned it. Hate to be so obvious. So droll with my noticings. What's the word there? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Observations?
observations. That's the right one.
Noticings. Let's
Yeah.
go with noticings. I like that a lot better.
Noticings.
Yeah. Was it just the beginning of this episode you were talking about? Your word of the day, toilet paper?
Mhm. Yeah, noticings is tomorrow.
Noticing is tomorrow.
Adam Savage, by the way, on both his YouTube channel and in his book, he throws some out there that I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like I have to stop and Google. The one the other day was recalcitrant.
All right. Nobody uses that word. Come
And
on.
it just rolled off the tongue like he uses it regularly. He wasn't trying to be impressive. He's like, yeah, it was being really recalcitrant, which means like stubborn, basically, I think. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
Why did you?
Feels like unnecessary syllables when stubborn would have been better.
Yeah,
But it's fine.
Indeed.
He's earned it. He can do what he wants.
that's right. The book's
Hey, if
great,
you
though.
got it, flaunt it.
Yeah.
That's
He
what I
does.
say. That's what I say. If I knew that word and it were in my arsenal, I'd pull it out of my arsenal.
Recalcitrant.
Yes.
Recalcitrant. Okay.
There you go, everyone. You just You just well, let's just look up the official definition while we're
Word
at
of the day toilet paper for you.
having an obstinately uncooperative attitude toward authority or discipline. But he was talking about a material he was using that was being recalcitrant. So it's a personification.
Right. So it was being stubborn.
Well, I think that wraps us up for this week. Thank you all for listening. We so appreciate your
Wait, we never got. Was it just stubborn? Did you do all of that? Stubborn? You never gave the definition. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, he did.
Was it just stubborn?
Where did you
No.
go?
Yeah, where were you?
No. I heard that before, but like just now when you were looking at the screen.
No, he read
read
the
it.
definition before I said so stubborn.
So stubborn. Yeah. Okay.
And then before I said that was a long definition.
I was checking my notes. Anyways, well, yeah, so stubborn. All right. Great. Glad we took that long pause in the middle of a podcast.
You didn't even have the excuse of saying that everything froze this time.
Actually, my computer did just say the internet is unstable. So
I've got that a couple
What were you
times.
going to say?
I got that going for me. All right, boys, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning into episode 50 of From the Middle. This has been a lot of fun. If you don't already, we have From the Middle Facebook page, which is very exciting. And then we have From the Middle, From the Middlers, something like that. I think they're linked to each other. So frankly, if you search From the Middle on Facebook, you can probably find the other. And then we're also on Instagram and Twitter, and we use all of those things differently. It's not the same content on every single page. You'll also find everywhere that you find podcasts, including YouTube, our little show here, and frequently posted places, ways to email us, leave us voicemails. You can message us on social media, whatever you want. If you got ideas, if you have questions for us, why we say Taco Bell weird, and you want to ask us, do that, and then we can speak to that a little bit. So that's pretty much it. And unless you guys have anything else, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.